What's cracking, people? It's your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I wanted to address a question that I get often, and that is whether or not Tinder is for everyone, including strippers, or select men, or ASPs, USPs, or whomever would be classified as a high-value man. And the short answer to that is yes. I think that people of all degrees, varying degrees of entry, should at least try it out. Try out app dating, online dating, so that you have a more robust range of areas to pull from, whether it's just to explore your options, to feel your roster positions, or just to see what's out there. But before I get into this, I wanted to provide the listeners on this side of things, the YouTube side of things, a brief snippet of the quality and the level of podcasts and information that is delivered to my Patreon subscribers, and in particular the journeyman and the technician level Patreon subscribers. Now, I provide information to the caliber of what I'm going to give you a snippet of for all of my Patreons, but the higher level, or what I call high tech, is reserved for those who enter at the journeyman and technician level, because those are the operatives who are very serious about doing self-evaluative work, and to put in the functional, tangible work that it takes to go from just being probably just an ASP or a select man to a technician. There are degrees, and like they always say, there's levels to this shit. So without further ado, I want to provide a brief snippet of what you can expect at those higher levels on the Patreon side. You're talking to her in a way that suggests sex. You're not being vulgar. You're not at this point. You're not being vulgar, but you're being suggestive, sexually suggestive, because women are primarily comprised of imagination. They can take a word, they can take a phrase, they can take a statement, and they can build an entire world around that. And that's one of the secrets and keys to being a sensual master. So once you've got her stimulated sensually, you move into the sexual area. So as you can see, it gets pretty hot over there in the hot house. Definitely material that cannot be published on the YouTube side, but go ahead and click the link. Go over there, stretch your legs, see what you can appreciate, see what level of engagement works for you. But in any case, let's get into this particular video about how a stripper tenders. Now, the first thing that I want to mention, like I said before, I recommend everybody at least attempt, at least try various forms of app dating or online social interacting with members of the opposite sex. So go ahead and explore what those various options are. I'm focusing on Tinder because I believe that it's the most widely used. I've tried other sites and other apps, but it seems like people tend to be straightforward on Tinder, and I know that sounds really green or naive, or it may be a suspect statement to a lot of people, because there's a lot of catfishing that goes on. I know I certainly am familiar with that, and that can be something that's addressed in another video. But on the other side of it, the value side, like what I've personally been able to extract as far as a value extraction or a value exchange, this is what I have found. So what I first want to say is that my preference is to meet women in person. Let me get that out the way first. That's because there's only so much that can be conveyed within the digital space, right? I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that and can agree with what I'm saying. For me, nothing can be better than hitting a woman in person with that ASP Holy Ghost. For the guys who know what I'm talking about, you know. But for the guys who are unfamiliar, I'll link a video that refers to what that is in the description. So, moving forward, getting into the nuts and bolts of this thing, the first thing that I want to say is, I personally, this is what I recommend, is for guys to sign up for the Tinder Plus, which I believe is about $29.99 per month, which I guess that's 2 or 3 drinks at a club or a lounge, wherever you choose to go. And I say this for a few reasons. First of all, I don't keep a profile for longer than about 2 or 3 months, and that's because that's just my natural cycle of things. Over a course of time, if you leave it out there, obviously the charges build up, but I tend to be very specific, and this is what I recommend to the gentlemen that follow me. I recommend that you know what you're going into an operation for. Be very specific about it. When you set up your situation, set it up, get in, get what you're looking to extract in value, and then get out. My normal cycle goes for about 2 or 3 months anyway, and then I'm off the app, because if you stay on there, you can build up your matches up into the thousands potentially. I know that there's some guys who are out there who have had the same profile for probably a year, multiple years, and depending on what level you've built yourself up to be, those matches can get out of control, and it's not necessary, in my opinion. Using these methods tends to grow your matches relatively quickly, and like I said, you want to be on and off, or get in and out as soon as possible. And this is not in my opinion, this should not be your primary mode of entry into the dating space or meeting women space. So you're naturally not going to aggregate a high number of matches, and you're not going to spend as much money in this digital space. So definitely do the gold, and I say do the Tinder Plus because what happens, what you get is 5 super likes per day. What's more important than the likes or the super likes is the boost. Now the boost is something that because of the way that the platform is set up, the platform's algorithm is set up, it's set up to keep the majority of male profiles unseen in front of the majority of female profile. Obviously this is for business and marketing reasons, and they make more money the more guys that they have on here, but like I said, for my purposes, I tell my guys to be very specific with what you're going into this for, and specific with how you position your profile and for how long that you're on here, so that you can maximize your costs. Okay, so what that boost does is put you in front of the maximum amount of profiles. So you're going to be strategic when you hit that boost button, and you're not going to do that until after all of these other things have been put into place. Also, I recommend the Plus because the Gold offers the opportunity for you to see who swiped on you first, which I think is a pretty dope ass feature for this. Okay, so beyond that, the profile. My recommendation is that you set your profile up with high impact pictures. Use all of the ones, I think it's either between 6 and 8, I'll have to look back at it, but I'm going to post a few pictures that I use, and I recommend if you can get access to a professional photographer, use that. Otherwise, you're going to have to really heavily curate the pictures that you use. But obviously use recent pictures. Obviously the pictures should show a range of the activities that you're interested in. Despite what they may say, definitely show skin if you have that physique, which I am definitely preaching to my followers. Definitely build up your physique. Have pictures that highlight your signature body parts, be it your arms, your chest, your back, combination, abs, whatever you can, there should be at least one picture that highlight that for you. Your bio should be very brief, very subtle. There should be an element of mystery. Now, mystery is an important word, obviously, in my world as an exotic entertainer. Mystery is what keeps the viewer wanting more, and that's one of the key elements to this particular profile setup. But that's also why you don't want to keep your profile out there for more than 2 or 3 months, because if it's just sitting out there lingering, there's all kinds of, I think, secret sites or whatever, or women actually pass around guys' profiles, believe it or not. And depending on where you are, if you don't move around, if you don't travel a lot, your profile will get passed around amongst women. And so unless a group of women are interested in passing you around in person, then what'll happen is that'll decrease your ability to actually meet a woman in person. Doesn't mean that it's going to decrease your match ability, but the convertible ratio will drop the longer your profile stays out there, because that element of mystery will diminish. Okay, so for my bio, for example, I have a very brief statement. Height, definitely put your height out there, no matter how tall you are. Do not lie about your height, because in person and then in pictures, a woman can perceive what that height is. Again, this is all about owning who you are, and physically owning your presence is one of the primary things that I preach, especially for my technicians, and especially for my Patreon followers. You have to embrace yourself. You have to embrace who you are. Whether you are 5'2" or 6'8", you have to embrace that, and in no uncertain terms, put that out there, because that is an important thing for a potential woman to make a judgment call regarding what she wants. It's okay if your height is 5'2", 3, 4, 5, 5'5", 5'6", 7, whatever. This is an overall presentation that has to match up with your pictures, that has to match up with your statement, and the remainder of the statement will be like this. You put out a brief, subtle bio, there's mystery, you put out your height. Next, you have to issue a challenge. The most common challenge that I like to put out there is for the potential woman to not be boring. Like I said before, women like to take words and they filter it through their imagination. So she'll definitely be like, damn, what does that mean? Don't be boring. Man, how's my life? What am I like? Who am I? She's now asking herself, and she has to then qualify herself to you. But also, it enhances that element of mystery. What does that mean? What is boring to him? And so a statement like that is a challenge to at least get the conversation going after you've matched. But also, it filters women who aren't up to snuff, so to speak. You're going to filter out the women who would be like, dang, this guy is too much of a challenge for me. This guy is out of my league. Yes, that's exactly who you want to filter out of your match count, because at the end of the day, quality over quantity is key. All right. Number 2, the settings. So in the settings area, you want to set your age range. And for me personally, I like to go between 20 and 42 because you get a wider variety of interests. I can break that down in another video, because that in and of itself is a whole thing. Refer to my other video when I talk about how to mentor a pretty young thing, or PYT, because that factors into how these settings affect your match, and how your match based on these settings ultimately affects your turnover ratio. Distance, that all depends on your mode of transportation. If you live in a metropolitan area, if you have access to public transportation, cabs, Uber, or whether or not you drive, I would not recommend going beyond 30-40 miles, because again, it's a law of diminishing returns. definitely you want to select show in app. Now your age. This, I recommend that if you've purchased a Tinder Plus that for a man, that you do not show your age, because that's not necessarily a determining factor. See, all of this goes together. Age for women is not as important as age for men, because women have to present youth, beauty, and innocence. For men, we have to present value, wisdom, and convertibility, meaning that we have assets to bring beyond our age. And the higher up in age we tend to be or present, the more value we have. So that's also a thing that I like to leave blank, because women will inevitably ask that in conversation, just to further gauge your ability to present valuable things to her. Okay. 3, when to go on. Now, once you got all of these things set up, you selected the style of profile you want, you put in all of your pictures, you've got your bio set up. You're not going to punch that boost button just yet. You're going to punch that boost button on a Thursday evening between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. That's because the majority of the potential matches are going to be looking to have something set up for their weekend during that period of time. There have been tests done on this. There have been case studies, and there are plenty of videos that will show you why this is effective. I've tried this, and I've tried it at different times of the day and different days of the week. And this particular day of the week, Thursday, and this time frame between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. tends to be the one that has the highest turnover ratio. Once you punch that boost button, you are going to start swiping. Now, first you want to use your regular swipes, okay? And you want to X out the women who do not register to you as an 8 or above. That's because of the way the algorithm works. If a woman registers an 8 or below to you, what Tinder's going to do is start to feed you 7s, 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, and yes, gentlemen, there are 1s on Tinder. If you've been on Tinder, you know that there are 1s on that motherfucker. So keep your regular swipes at 8 and above. Reserve your 5 super likes for 9s and 10s. Trust me, you will find them. I've posted a couple just so that you can get a sense of what those may look like. In my opinion, your opinion may vary, but so it goes. Keep swiping until the boost ends, which I think it ranges between 15 and 20 minutes. And what happens is, after this is done, the boost, you'll notice that you've moved to the top of the profile heap, which is the whole point of this. The boost is valuable, that's why they make you pay for it. So definitely be ready to get lots of looks. Alright, the remainder of this I'm going to reserve for the Patreon side, but just to give you a sense, this is what we're going to discuss. What to say to the matches. So, going into this, the first thing you want to do is look at her pic and what she said in her bio, right? There are basically 3 categories of interest. 1, she's on there to validate her level of attractiveness. 2, she is definitely ready to be married and filled with babies. And 3, come fuck me into the next dimension. Those are the 3 categories, and let's break them down.